Carlos, how you doing, sir?
Hey, doing pretty good. How you doing?
Beautiful. Thank Lord. I was thinking for a second there was going to be an issue with the Connect, and we were going to have to go back and forth and try to figure all that out. But man, oh man, you're here. Maybe not. Gotta see what the hell's going on here. We
Oh,
had him for a second. Uh-oh.
oh,
Here we go. Are we back?
yeah, we're back. It's because I was trying to get it out, trying to run it off of my desktop, and it was just like messing up. So I was like, yeah, I can't do it there. So I ended up
Got
getting
ya.
it back on my phone.
Got ya. Okay. 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 Well, I mean, hey, if we got it working and you can see me, hear me all right?
Yep, gotcha.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, as I mentioned, thank you very much for taking the time today. So sick. I am loving the shorts, man. I'm loving your work. Getting to dig into having the stuff up on YouTube and just kind of going down a rabbit hole of your stuff. And it's fun. You have some action there. You have some horror, some kind of throwbacks. You're pretty active, my man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a journey doing all this stuff because I was a kid and I wanted to do this, so I didn't know how to do it. This was back in the '90s, and then
Hmm.
2000, same way, you had to work your way up as like a PA and stuff. And then
Sure.
luckily that DSLR revolution came in and everybody could have a camera and make it look cinematic. And then I was able to do my
Yeah.
own stuff.
Beautiful. I mean, and you mentioned in the '90s too, and initially growing up in Nebraska. What can you tell us about that? What was life like there?
Uh, let's just say like what they show you like on Letterkenny. It's kind of similar to that. It's like
Okay.
it's a small town area. I mean, we were right next door, just right across the river to a bigger city that's like 80,000. It's called Sioux City, Iowa.
Hmm.
We used to call it Sewer City because we have a bunch of meat packing plants there. My parents worked at one of them,
Okay.
and you could just smell like the burned hide and stuff. So like it smelled.
Oh,
I think even Harrison Ford said he came to Sioux City once, and he says they asked him what he thought about it. I don't know if it was Letterman or one of the late show guys, and he said, "Did you go to Sioux City?" And he says it smelled. That's it. And yeah, it was growing up like you said, it's a small little town, America. And in the '90s and the 2000s, it was at the time I was at that time there was some Hispanics, but not as many as there is now. I'm
hmm.
gonna guess it was probably like 15% Hispanic. Now it's like 40% or 45%, probably even more than
Okay.
that. But yeah, it was like we're trying to integrate into the society and everything. I was born in Sioux City, actually.
Oh,
All my
okay.
siblings were born there except one of my sisters. And yeah, like I said, it was a small town. Growing up, me and my friends, played sports, made movies, did a bunch of stuff. So like for me, it was like your typical '90s, uh, stereotypical growing up, but like in a little small town.
Okay. Now you mentioned you guys being younger, and this kind of touches base, personally with me with making movies and such. Did what was kind of were you initially kind of drawn to that whole idea of directing, or were you doing some of the acting and behind the scenes as well?
Um, Actually, I had to credit uh two things. One is my siblings, my older siblings, Noel and Lexley. They, my brother's like 11 years older than me, so he was in college when I was still like in elementary school, going into like junior high, and he would come back from with film studies. So he would bring
Oh
back like
wow.
David Cronenberg movies, Stanley Kubrick movies, because he had to watch them and then study for them, right?
Hmm.
And then my sister worked at one of her best friends worked at, her parents owned the local video store. So I could just go in there and
Oh
rent any
man.
movie I wanted, right? So those two, that's what got with me it stirred my imagination. And another one that actually got physically into actually making stuff was another best bud of mine. His name is Johnny Stapleton. Um, he was one of those super kids that would do uh, instead of doing the homework, he'd
Uh-huh.
do a video of the homework and like act it out. If it's like history class or science class, he'd do like stuff like Binkman's World of Science, or he would do like stuff like or like put on wigs to, the founding fathers, stuff like that, and just like turn that in. And then I got into I and he was friends with my cousins, my two cousins that were my two twin cousins, and then we all formed this group. And then by the time we were in junior high, we started doing they took over like the local, not local, but the school news and started doing a bunch of that stuff.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
formal entry into like, oh man, I can make this stuff because we started using like digital 8, then high cameras to do all this stuff and turn it around. And then that's when like non-linear editing systems came out. I think the first one that we used was like called Pinnacle. And then we
Okay.
just
Yeah.
started editing. And yeah, we did the school news. I did some short horror movies that were pretty bad. But hey, you live and you learn, right?
What were some of those short horror, those early horror movies?
Uh,
Like, were they based
uh,
on you watched The Thing for the first time? And it's like, whoa, how do we pull
I was
that
like,
off?
I think I was like really into like supernatural crap. I think at that time I watched like Exorcist 3 or something.
Mm,
I had like this
okay.
little binge off like trying to do like supernatural stuff. Like there's a ghost in your closet or like there's a night demon or whatever. And then so basically you see the POV from like the ghost as the person's like sleeping. It's pretty embarrassing, but it was, some people liked it. They showed it at the school news. Like the whole freaking school saw it and I was like, eh. So my friends were like, "Oh, that was cool. That was scary." I was like, yeah, right." It's like, thanks for the compliment, though.
Did you guys this group of buddies that all came together? Did you have like this like cool ass name that you had to write on folders and make a T-shirt of or anything like that?
I wasn't, and the funny thing is, side note, Johnny and my cousins and these two other twins, they formed. Johnny's like real. He's the actor, right? He grew up in the acting theater and all this stuff,
Uh,
and at that time, boy bands were popular, and so he like musicals and shit. So he got into like In Sync. So like to be, they were like semi popular. They started doing choreography to like In Sync and the Backstreet Boys for like the what is it, the school talent show stuff. I would film it. I was a part of that crap. But it was hey, I gave it to Johnny. He's a good choreographer. He's a good dancer.
yeah.
And he
Wow.
was, they did all of that stuff. And that was my entry into actually filming, doing all of that stuff. I didn't get involved in any of that stuff. And it's like in this truth that I was the guy filming it. I actually did.
Oh man, that's awesome. I mean, in a name like Johnny Stapleton, every once in a while you hear names like that, and it's like you're destined to be a Hollywood actor.
Yeah,
Like that just like makes me think like Johnny Cage or some shit. Like
I
just
know, right?
the sunglasses all the time and a cowboy hat maybe, and it's just like, boy oh boy. Is he still acting?
Yeah, he's actually a writer, director, actor. He
Hmm.
went down to Louisiana. So I think it's called the Louisiana Film Prize, which is basically if you go do a short film there, all that stuff, and there's a jury prize. It's been going on for like a decade or more. You win $50,000. He's won it twice.
Whoa! No kidding.
He's won it twice. One
Wow.
had like a dance. One is a guy named he starred a guy named Corey Landis. You probably seen he's been in a ton of commercials. He used to be the what is it, the 5 Hour Energy guy, the guy that got sit at the desk and be like, "Hey, this is
Oh,
5 Hour Energy." He
okay.
starred in his he's friends with them. Um
Huh.
so he starred in a short film, so he flew him out all the way out to like Louisiana to film this like it was called The Man on the Moon or something. It's basically a guy who's like super skeptical about something and then he gets like turned around and it's like a big musical anthem. That was his first one. Second one was called like Funky Butt. It's about this little girl and this like magical trumpet and this like it was like all about jazz.
Okay.
So this like little black girl and then she gets like I haven't seen all of it, so he's just described it to me. I helped him fund it, but he has asshole still hasn't sent me the link, right? This is like been like 7 years, even though it won again at $50,000. So yeah,
Wow.
he does a bunch of stuff. He's released a feature film called Fast of Seven. It's basically think of Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, and he
Okay.
basically did his own version of that, like a dirtier version of it, right? Uh,
Okay.
and that's like released. It's like on I don't know if it's on Tubi or anything, but yeah, he starred in it, wrote it, directed it. Um, he's made money off it. I think he only made it for like 10 grand. He made like tripled or him and DT and his buddy uh, uh, made the movie and they were able to, get it distributed, actually a credible distributor. And they made money off of the things, like which is like rare for a lot of people, right?
Damn.
Um, so yeah, he's still doing that stuff. He's still writing, directing, and stuff like that. He directed another one recently, but that one's hush hush. I can't really talk about it because he's still editing it.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, he's still active, and I told him he's going to actually be in some of my feature film debuts. There's two roles that I have for him in each one,
Oh,
and I can get
sick.
to
Okay.
one of them later on.
Yeah. Okay, cool, cool. I mean, in with us having, those times and, memories and such, is there like anything as far as like a tangible item or something from your childhood that you wish that you still had? Maybe some of those videotapes, anything like that. Toy.
Yeah, true that. There, like you said, two things. My sister was at the video store, so I buy like used VHS, like
Hmm.
cheap, right, for like $3. I was like first dibs, so like I would buy like Seven on VHS, Mrs. Doubtfire on VHS, like all those movies, like The Crow VHS. My sister was also funny thing is at that time at the video stores they would get preview copies, so my sister would
Oh
get
yeah.
uh movies like 2 months, 3 months ahead of time. But at the bottom there'd be like a little like tracking number saying this is a preview. You
Hmm.
cannot distribute this or whatever. So we had a bunch of those copies. She kept The Crow. I wish she might still have it. It might be somewhere in my house, but I'm
Oh
sure it's a
man.
collector's item. So that's how I watched The Crow like 2 months ahead of everybody, right? Dark
Damn, no
Man, two
kidding.
months ahead of everybody. And then everybody's like, whoa, what the hell? How did you watch these movies? Because I tell them about it. Um, that's those are some that I wish I would still had. Another one, oh, is all my toy collection because I used to be like my parents and my siblings would be like, man, you were like for like a from like a 6 year old to like I was like 12. I used to have this like little cabinet. Think about it, it's like a cabinet, and I had each row had I mean each shelf was like I had them organized. I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this really cool aircraft carrier. It wasn't the G.I. Joe one. It was just this other thing
Okay.
with a bunch of planes on it and like Army men and tanks and stuff. Then I had the Aliens set
Oh
from like
man.
Aliens versus Predator. There was Aliens first, so I had like Ripley, Hicks, and all that. Drake, um, Apone. Then I also had then the Predator line came out. Then I got all the Predator stuff.
Oh
Like I
man.
had every so like they had those different types of birds because I think, long story short, they were gonna make an animated series off aliens,
Hmm.
and it never came to. There was it just made like they made a pilot, but then they ended up releasing the toys because the toys were actually pretty popular. That toy line ran for like 7 8 years, right? I had those Teenage Mutant Turtles. I think I had X-Men stuff. I had a ton of that. I had Cable. I had Wolverine, Cyclops. I had all those like that's when Marvel went crazy with merchandising back in the 90s, so I had all of those.
Sure.
But I would have wished I would have stuck with all of
Yeah.
those. I mean, that'd be cool to give to my son and my daughters that all of this stuff that I had as a kid. That's one regret that I had that I wish I still had.
And you see, all this stuff that's coming back, and it's kind of fun with having, kids and, that whether a boy or a girl, and, having, the opportunity where it's like, I think this is cool,
Yeah,
like, hell yeah, I'll buy you
exactly.
that.
Now they're collector's items. I mean, if you
Yeah.
can get like $20 off them, hey, I bought 5.99.
Yeah. Now, as far as you mentioned, this local video shop and maybe even some theaters. What comes to mind today as far as just good memory of these places? These local places to you.
For me, it's just the nostalgia factor of not, having all the responsibilities as an adult. Just
Mm.
going to like the video store on a Friday night with your mom. She would drive you, go there, you'd walk in, you'd smell the new tapes in there, you'd walk, and then you could feel the carpet everywhere. And then all the rows of movies everywhere. You let it be at that time VHS, and then eventually turned over to DVD. You had all the sections. You had horror, you had comedy, you had cartoons, you had everything. Every single thing you would want, you'd find at the video store,
Mm.
right? And then after that, going to the mall with your friends
Mm.
on a Saturday or a Sunday night, just chilling, at the food court, eating, going to the local arcade. Then after that, going to a movie or go meeting up somewhere at somebody's house to go watch something or play PlayStation games. I remember me and a couple of friends that I had. Uh, his name was Abraham and Christian, his older brother. We would go. He was also Mexican too.
Hmm.
And we were like, at the time we were kind of dorky. We were like more Americanized than most of all our other friends that were Hispanic. So we would watch like Red Dwarf on PBS on Friday nights, Doctor Strange and stuff like that, if you could believe that. And then, yeah, we would just like geek out on stuff. And then that's how I got into comic books. I remember one time, we were just driving around on our bikes, and then there was these dumpsters at this old Catholic school that I used to go. It's still there. It's called St. Michael's,
Uh-huh.
and they had dumpsters out, like those, big green giant dumpsters. And then we went in just to see what the hell was in there. And there was a bunch of boxes of comic books, like from like the 80s and the 70s. They
Oh
like had
wow.
pallets of these freaking things in there. So we dumpster dived and saw, I was like, what the hell? They were in mint condition. Because they basically confiscated from all the kids that were
Oh,
trying to read comic books. And it was like
oh
stacks and
wow.
stacks and stacks. It was unbelievable. I didn't keep any of them because I already had a more collection to them. So I just said, hey, you guys keep them. And then he gave them away to some other kid that doesn't like comic books, and that kid lost them. So I was kind of pissed off he didn't give them
Bastard.
to me because he had to move away. And I still kind of I'm still kind of stung about that because he had like Wolverine #2 and Wolverine #3 stuff that was like
Whoa.
now worth like a couple
Oh,
$100, maybe 1,000,
right.
mint condition. So nah, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I remember doing stuff like that, like stuff like kids, or going, go play sandlot baseball. So
Mm-hmm.
all of us would go play like on a random Thursday night. Hey, all the kids would get together and we'd go play baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just stuff like that, like just the innocence of the childhood of not caring, being able to come out. Like I said, I know it's dating and be like, hey, at the time we didn't have cell phones or anything, but just be back by the sun comes down
Yep.
before the
Yep.
lights come up and stuff like that. So
Yep. The street lights
that's
come
some
on
of
and
the,
get
yep,
home.
exactly. And we were like on our dynos or our huppies with the little pegs in the back. So like if his
Oh
tire was
yeah.
flat, he would jump on our backs and we would just go. We would like, we'd be cool and stuff like that.
Did you guys have a Suncoast video mentioning the mall?
We didn't have, I think we did. We had a Suncoast video. We had, can't remember the names of the other ones, but yeah, I
God,
think we
I
had
love that
Suncoast.
place.
I did
That
too.
place was so cool, man. We had,
It had been.
we had different spots, and like most of it was very, just your kind of cliche, Nutty Professor, and like just the typical titles. But you go to Suncoast, and that was where I was like discovering, finding trauma movies, and they had a lot of
Yep.
Asian stuff, a huge anime. I've never been huge into anime, but for the sake of people that are into that, it was like, God, that place was so cool. I was so bummed when they were shutting that place down.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like you said, they had a bunch of cool stuff that you've never heard of, and you just like roll through it and be like, what the hell is this? I think, and that's where I got introduced to Evil Dead on the Suncoast Theater because they just
Oh,
had,
okay.
like they were like doing promotions. It's like, what the hell is this freaking movie? And I
Uh-huh.
asked my brother because he was in college, but he was also in the National Guard, and I was like, have you seen Evil Dead? It's like, yeah, they're kind of crazy movies if you want to watch them. It's like, yeah, I like them. It's like, because I'd always ask my brothers if they've seen these older movies because they're like 11 and 9 years older than me. So I would ask them about these movies, and they'd be like, "Yeah, you'd probably like it. Do you like movies? Yeah, you like them." So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up watching it, and then, like I said, I became a really big fan of Sam Raimi
Mm-hmm.
without knowing that I was a fan of Sam Raimi with Darkman. I was introduced to Sam Raimi with Army of Darkness and
Oh,
Darkman. I didn't know it was
man.
the same guy because I was just like a young kid. I was like seven
Yeah.
or eight,
Right,
and I didn't
right.
know. Then I saw The Quick and the Dead, and I was like, "This is the same freaking guy. Like this looks familiar." This looks really familiar. It was him. He was the guy doing all these crazy cool movies. Like I said, Sam Raimi was like a huge influence. That guy has style. He's a good storyteller.
Man, and some of the movies now, of course, the names are going to slip to me, but is it A Simple Plan?
Yeah.
Some of the movies
Yep.
that he has that aren't horror,
Yep.
it's just like, God dang, dude, like you
And
are
he
just
did
on top of your
For
game.
the Love of the Game. Did
There
he do
you
that one? The one
Oh
with Kevin
yeah, yeah,
Costner?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh my Lord. I know, and I had no. My dad was a baseball lover, and a Detroit Tigers, and involved in all
Yep.
that, and it was kind of like a hometown hero thing, for me when getting a little more familiar. Oh, Sam Raimi's from Michigan, and Bruce Campbell's from Michigan, and
Yep.
I guess that being stated, did you have anybody or any movies that resonated with you personally that you found out, oh, this is filmed in Nebraska, or they're from Nebraska, or even Minneapolis?
There's a couple. I think when I found out that Children of the Corn was shot in somewhere in Nebraska, I was like, holy crap, they made a freaking movie like in cornfields and shit. But yeah, because like I said, if you're from, like I said, it's us from the Midwest, we're definitely know what the hell a cornfield is and
Uh-huh.
what, rolling hills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like people that don't come from the Midwest, they don't get the winters, they don't get how humid the summers are,
Uh-huh.
or the fall, or the spring. So stuff like that, like, and then going back to like the people that are from him, then I heard that Ethan and Joe Cohen from like, were from Minnesota. And I
Oh,
just like,
really?
just thinking about that, I was like, yeah, there's a couple schools here. Oh, quick tidbit about that. Um, Jingle All the Way,
Uh-huh.
shot here in Minneapolis and everything. in the beginning of the movie, when he's like on the phone and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss my kid's recital. You're my favorite customer," and he does all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
When he's driving a Suburban to pull up into like he missed his kid's recital, right? He's late.
Yeah.
That school, it's my school. It's like 2 blocks away, and that's where my son goes to school. It's called Fountain Heights,
No way.
and it says it right there. And I was like, "Holy crap! They filmed it right there. They filmed it exactly right there." It's like so, like cool little tidbits like that. Like, but yeah,
Man.
like growing up.
So
Yeah, I didn't
sick.
have too many local heroes like, other places did like Minneapolis
Hmm.
or even you like yourself with Sam Raimi in Michigan.
Hmm.
Uh, all those movies, I mean, that they filmed up there. I mean, people that came from there. But yeah, like Nebraska, I always try to say, hey, I'm going to be the first one to come out of here. Oh, Lori Petty, she went to school in Sioux City, Iowa. She's a
Oh,
couple years
really?
older than my brother. She's probably like 9 years older than my brother. But yeah, Lori Petty went to North, Sioux City North. So she's like known, recognized there. Kurt
Man.
Heinrich, he was that basketball player. He played the Sioux City North.
Okay.
There was a couple celebs that came out of that. He played for the Bulls.
Yep.
Played
Okay.
for, I don't know if he played for, can't remember what other teams he played for. Maybe he played for Atlanta. I'm not even going to say those names. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just know he came out of the Bulls. He was drafted from the Bulls. But yeah, like there's just like not that many local, like big, other than like Lori Petty, like as an
Mm.
actress. I'm probably forgetting some. Don't crucify me in case I do forget that there's another people
Well,
from
sure.
Nebraska. I know there's people that were born there, like I think wasn't I don't know if it was Marlon Brando or somebody was born in Omaha, right? But
Uh,
they weren't raised there.
right.
I mean, they could say, yeah, I'm
Right.
from. Oh, Alexander Payne.
Oh,
He's
oh,
from
okay. Okay.
Nebraska, so
Sure.
he's another person that like I said you could. But I like at that time I wasn't like into like critically
Well, you're not
acclaimed
really.
movies.
Yeah, I
Like,
was. I mean, and even as a little kid, you're not necessarily, kind of digging it. But it was a tidbit that came to me when, even as a young and interested in horror, or a young man and interested in horror, was the whole Sam Raimi, connection and
yep,
watching Evil Dead, and they have U of M and Michigan State sweatshirts. It's like, why are they
it's
wearing shit
cool,
with
right?
Michigan on it? Like, wow, that's awesome. So, no, I love that. Now, like, as far as your interest in film and in horror movies, over the years, let's even say in or out of film, what are a couple of scenes that come to mind to you that just are forever ingrained in your brain? Maybe how they pull them off, disgusting, just unsettling, or a performance.
Um, uh, I get really dry eyes, but I
Oh,
can still talk while I do
no,
it.
no, no
um,
worry.
uh, 3 scenes. One, I mean, these, I gotta blame my siblings for that because I was like a fucking 5, 6, 7 year old when I watched this shit. I wasn't supposed to. Uh, it was Hellraiser at the
Uh,
end, skin getting pulled off and ripped off and crap like that.
uh-huh.
Hellraiser 1 and 2, Hellbound,
Yeah,
that crap.
yeah.
That was really ingrained in my mind. I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the
Oh, dude.
where remember the cockroach scene where she turns into a
Oh,
cockroach?
man.
That was
How
a big one.
devastating.
I know. I was like me.
Yes.
I was like a freaking 6 year old or 7 year old watching this shit. And then because what happened is they would rent them. My siblings would rent them, and then they would lock me and my sister in the other room or like shut the door on us.
Uh-huh.
So we wouldn't watch it. But me and her would sneak out and watch behind like the couch while they weren't supposed to watch it because they don't want us waking up because we were prone to having like you know night terrors and nightmares and stuff. And
Yeah,
then I would go run to my parents. And my
being a
parents would be
little
like, "What the
kid.
hell were you watching?"
Yeah,
And they knew exactly what my siblings were watching.
yeah.
Uh, and
Oh, man.
another one was when I got introduced to body horror by my brother. A David Cronenberg movie that everybody knows, The Fly, where his face falls off at the end. And he finally transforms into a
Man,
Brundlefly. Yeah, and
dude.
he watched that for a college, yeah, the film class I was talking earlier. Like with
Oh,
that,
wow.
I watched Full Metal Jacket, Stanley Kubrick's 2001, Blade Runner, Alien, in David Cronenberg's The Fly, and that's the one that stuck with me the most out of that ones that he rented because he was talking about like I think it was like people were calling it as an allegory for HIV, right?
Mm.
Um, and so I watched that scene. And I was like, holy crap, that was really gross. And that just stuck with my like little brain. Like if I showed that to my son right now, he'd probably be like a little scared because I know I tried to introduce him to some like lighter horror stuff, but he still gets scared of it.
Okay.
Like, even so, I'm like, yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna gradually get him into stuff, but not like how I was introduced.
You ever show him Ernest Scared Stupid?
Yeah, He
Oh
actually liked
man,
it. He was only like 4 or 5 when he watched it, but he got a little
that's what I'm
scared. My
talking
other
about.
my 4 year old daughter, she gets scared easily, so I haven't showed her that one yet because I know she would have nightmares. I know she would.
It's always a balance. You gotta be careful. That was the same thing with my little ones. It was like kind of bits by bits because
Yep.
there's still moments where like they're getting turned into the dolls and the
Yeah.
well
That
even
scares him.
the kid rolling over in bed, the motherfucker's right in their face. You know, it was
Yep.
like
He's like,
that's
ah,
still pretty
right.
scary.
Or when he's, yeah, exactly that scene that you're talking about, right? She's like talking like that, and all of a sudden she rolls over and he's right there and he goes, rah,
Yeah.
right? And then he's like, and then
Oh
she gets
man.
turned. Oh,
Dude, so good, so good. I love that. No, and it's fun. I mean, like it's fun having those moments of kind of like things that are a little bit more silly, and then gradually kind of getting into things or like I don't want to say darker, but something like The Fly and watching that, and even still today, and just the effects that they pulled off, and even being younger and not knowing that body horror was like a
yeah.
subgenre or anything like that. You're just like, oh my god, how are they pulling this off?
I know, right? Right? It's like just imagination seeing that stuff, and then just for me being influenced by some of that stuff, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
it boggles your mind, but you're also like, oh, that's cool. How did they do it? That's how
Mm-hmm.
I was. I was like, how did they do that? This is really cool.
That's interesting. You were mentioning your brother and kind of having the whole aspect educationally of studying movies and kind of going in. Did he have conversations with you about some of the, like you mentioned 2001, and that's always been something that I've found very fascinating, is wanting to go into something like watching The Fly and hearing a professor kind of break down certain things like the HIV epidemic and things like that.
Um, he did a little bit, but like I said, he was at that time, I was just like 6 or 7, and
Mm.
he was,
Oh yeah, yeah, right.
older than me by like 11 years. So he was like, in college and stuff. So I would ask him about it. It's like, what's this about? Like the general stuff. And then as we got older, I started getting into college and stuff. That's when we really started, hey, remember when we watched that? It's like, hey, why did you watch it? And then he was like, yeah. And then I would tell him my points of view, and then he'd tell me his points of view. As we got older,
Mm.
we did start talking about cool conversations about that. Because,
Mm.
like I was like a 5 or 6 year old kid, and I was a really quiet kid, so I wasn't really like intuitive. Like
Mm.
you'd have to like coax stuff out of me. But yeah, like as I got older, I would like me and my brother, his name's Noel,
Mm.
and me and him were, talking about movies. Even to this day, we would watch a movie and then talk about it. Like it's like what's it about? What did you get out of it? Is there any like stuff behind what the filmmakers were trying to get across? And then obviously we, watch stupid funny movies like you'll watch like Step Brothers and stuff. Funny thing is, like I took my mom to watch Step Brothers, and she was cracking up.
Yeah.
And she's like in her 50s and 60s. She's like she has a really good sense of humor. That's another person that I gotta think is my parents. My, my
Yeah.
my father and my mother both like really love movies, and they're both pretty like my dad's a little bit more strict and stuff like that, but my mom no. Once we got
Okay.
older and out of the house, my mom was like super open with. She could obviously be herself, and she's like super funny. She's like very open about everything. So yeah, she's a great one.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with kind of, like the old school Reformed Christian, type household where seeing some of these things, especially at that young age, it just was not, something, or listening to Slayer.
Yep.
But I had older brothers, and that was where, that kind of opportunity came where, oh, well, they're listening to something. I can sit out in the hall, or kind of like you mentioned, they're watching something, and I can peek behind the couch a little bit and
Yep.
see what the hell is going on.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, I mean, watching some of these things, have you ever developed an irrational fear? Something that's just ridiculous, but has maybe kind of kept with you for a long time after seeing.
One of them, a lot of it is two things. There's the kid one that I'm not too afraid of it now, but still kind of freaks. It's like, it in the sewer drains and crap, like
Mm-hmm.
the original Tim Curry one from the miniseries. Actually, the poster
Mm-hmm.
that's right behind you.
Yeah.
The two posters behind you, and then Jaws, the what's underneath you. You don't see what the hell's underneath you. Those are the two irrational fears that I got from movies. It's like I still to this day I don't like in open water in the ocean, even in
In the
lakes. Just
lakes,
in the back of my mind, it's like
I'm
I
surrounded,
don't know what
man.
the hell. You don't like I said. It's like yeah, there's no shark there, but is there something that could pull you down
Mm-hmm.
or something? Is it like a whirlpool or something, or like a rip current? You just don't know. And then,
Yeah.
like I said, being that's another restaurant there is just like just the waterness. It's just like I watch all these there's this podcast and like a YouTube series called Scary Interesting and just all these horror stories that you
Mm.
hear about the open water and you're just like a tiny little like grain of sand in the water. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
just it's like it just scares the crap out of me. Just a
Yeah.
lot. Like open
Well,
water.
even with the Great Lakes, there's been I don't know how many times over the years. There I can't remember if it's tiger or bull sharks that fly up through or that fly up, Jesus, that swim up through the rivers from the ocean, and then all of a sudden
Really?
people are swimming in the lake. Yeah, dude.
Holy crap. And those things are nasty. Those are some of the nastiest sharks. It's like,
I
holy
can't
crap.
remember which one it is. It's one of those though. It's either a tiger or bull sharks, but it's just like,
Oh,
what? Come on now. I
imagine you
thought it was
swimming and all of a
safe.
sudden you get like bumped or bit or nipped by one. Ugh. Ugh.
Mm-mm. No, even pools, man. I remember I've told the story a couple times, but I would wear goggles just because it's like, yeah, I can see the underneath me under the surface, but just in case, it was like there was I think even a Goosebumps book about pools, and the kid
Yeah, I
having to
remember that one.
look at it's just like, oh my God, come on, man. But at least it wasn't just me. Thank the Lord.
Yes. I know, right?
Now, did you have any local lore, as far as, when you were younger and had these interests, maybe when you and your buddies were riding around on bikes, there was that one house that you couldn't, like go up to, or there was certain, like monsters or something that were out in the field. Anything like that come to mind?
Yeah, there's two shows I can say. One's the Hispanic side, and then one's the like the local one that we were talking about.
Mm.
Um, growing up in that little town, my neighbor, he was like kind of like that stereotypical. Didn't have a wife. He was an older guy, white hair, tall, skinny, and he just would
Oh
go
boy.
and he would work at night. He never interacted with us. He would just mow his lawn and smile at us, and that's it. It's like I think I probably seen him more than I think my mind thinks, but I think I only saw him like a handful of times. And he
Okay.
would have this like gremlin looking car that we'd drive out at night and leave. He was never home.
Mm.
Never ever home when I was there.
Mm.
But yeah, we always used to think that he might have been like something. Like, you would watch all these movies about child abductions. Like I said, it'd be too obvious for him to kidnap us, so we were safe.
Yeah.
But we were wondering, it's like, we would all have the lore. It's like, is this guy really like, child,
Oh,
something,
oh
something,
man.
and, or like a
Oh
doctor.
no.
And that would always scare us. And then another one was this other house where this person was weird. This is like that friend of mine, Abraham. He had a girl cousin, and we'd go visit. My family was friends with her family, so we'd go visit. And then this guy, the next door neighbor, had this. You guys have different masks, like Halloween masks, hung in the front of their house, like really like
Like wearing
demon
them?
looking. Now there was like it was like thinking like where you knock the old school like those little where you go
Oh,
dun dun
okay.
dun.
Hmm.
It was hung over that. So it was like a demon mask and stuff. All year long. All year long. Something
Huh.
was hung there, something different. But I was like, what the hell was that? And we never saw anybody going in outside of the house. Not once have I ever saw anybody. And I would ask his cousin, and she would say she doesn't remember seeing anybody there. So we'd always, that's another place that we'd always be like, hey, after, if it's getting dark, don't go near that house. Because she
Oh
says
man.
that she would see one light in there every night. That's it. In the morning, it's turned off, but never saw the person. So, like I said, just a little lore that you say, like you said, people disappearing, stuff like that. Just, you don't want to become that kid that goes missing. Luckily, that didn't really happen in our town because it was really close knit. Yeah, it was like 10,000 people, and then we had the big city over the bridge, which is
Oh
80,000 people.
man.
So it was like we had that little bit of small town, but we still had a big town. They had a mall, they had an event center, they had
Okay.
hockey, they had basketball, they had semi-pro teams, like lower tier semi-pro teams. So we had a big giant mall. We had theaters, we had everything. Like I said, everything of a big town, you go
Hmm.
there. But like I said, if you really want a big city, you'd go to Omaha or Sioux Falls.
Okay.
Sioux Falls is
You can
like,
still get away though.
yeah, it's like 135,000 up in like that. Now it's like 200,000 people. And then Omaha's now circling, at that time, I think it was probably like 500,000, but now it's like close to 1 million people now with all the burbs and stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
that's how we like I said, it's like going there, just it's like your stereotypical like small little town like
Uh-huh.
that. I kind of like remember like well that's why like Stranger Things. Think about like
Uh-huh.
that. like a town, and then there's nothing. But it's like a big, small little town like that. Like it's big enough, but then getting out of this, just there's nothing.
Yeah.
That's basically our town of Sioux City.
Oh
Um,
man.
but yeah, and then another one, the Hispanic one, is that me and my cousins and my because I would go every summer for like I don't even weeks to Mexico. So at that time, my Spanish was rusty because I was the youngest. So basically, how it goes with Spanish households, what I've seen and I know and I've seen is that the oldest knows Spanish with Spanish. The second one does still knows Spanish. Then the second, last two, that also depends on who they hung out with. Like my two sisters had all Hispanic friends, a bunch of Hispanic friends, so their Spanish was perfect. My brother and I, mostly white friends, right? Right.
Mm.
Um, I my Spanish started getting better because I joined soccer. My friend Abraham and some other friends, and my cousins, my two cousins, they started playing soccer. So I started learning slang from Mexico. And every summer, my cousins from Mexico that still live down there, um, they would say, "Yeah, your Spanish is getting way better every year because it's like, yeah, because I'm playing soccer with other Mexicans." So my Spanish slowly got better. But yeah, I would go for weeks on end. My parents would, they worked at a meatpacking plant for a couple of years. Then they opened up their own business, and then they were entrepreneurs. To this, that's why they were able to. I'll give you the clip notes of my parents. They came over here with nothing. Worked at a factory for like 25 years, then bought their own stuff, bought rental houses to rent to other, other immigrants, bought their own restaurant,
Mm.
ran that for like 20 some years, then bought some more like real estate in Mexico and rent that out. And they were able to rent, I mean, they were able to retire, in their 60s
Oh,
with, all the stuff. Like that was the American dream for, right? It's like the
sure.
stereotypical American dream.
Hmm.
They didn't, my mom came over here with like a first grade education. My dad with like a second or third grade education, and they came over here.
Wow.
And they were able to, raise all four of us, put us through college, and and retire all without no 401k, none of that stuff.
Mm.
But like I said, that's like I had so thinking about that, I had a lot of stuff to live up to with my parents.
Hmm.
So when we'd go down there to Mexico, my grandfather would tell us there's this tree, it's like the devil's tree. At that time, right now it's all developed. There's a bunch of houses, right? Because the town grew where we were at. At the
Uh-huh.
time I would go, it was smaller where my parents grew up. And there's this tree, it's still there. And they would call it the tree of the devil. And this is like at night, the devil show up there. So me and my cousins would always like play around, run around town, whatever. But then at night, we would always avoid walking across it because, at the night, sometimes you see a guy there smoking and you don't know if, hey, is that the devil or stuff like that. So it would really creep us out.
Oh
And then one
man.
time, I don't know, my cousins would say they saw weird stuff. Yeah, like I said, you don't know if some of them were saying bullshit,
Yeah.
but you would get just the lore built up around that tree. My mom would tell us stories about people encountering like strange people around that tree in the middle of the night.
uh,
At walking home, my mom says that she saw people that weren't supposed to be there. And it's just like a bunch of stuff that would just grow in your mind.
yeah.
They plant that little seed,
Yeah.
and then it just grows in your mind, and you don't know if it's real or not. Like I said, those were like two of the biggest things that in my mind in terms of like lore,
Uh-huh.
growing up, that I know, like I said, that were big influences in my life.
Did you guys ever do ghost hunting or anything like that, or have you ever encountered anything that you see in movies or maybe supernatural that you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that again.
One time though, we were in Mexico, and my parents were having like a get together with all my cousins, aunts and uncles and everything. They were having like a thing at my house, and then me and my cousins were upstairs playing Super Nintendo. A bunch of us, like my two twin cousins, like I said, we were best friends. We're still best friends. Um, and yeah, they live everywhere. I think one of them lives in Arizona. Another one lives in Texas.
Mm.
They were there, and then my other cousins that were there, we were all playing Super Nintendo, and then I got upset for some reason, and I went outside, and then there's like the whole. I'll get into a tangent here real quick. I like to rant about this one, but the curse, Llorona.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, saw that crappy movie that came
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I came down on that movie
Yeah.
because it sucked. But I thought I heard her, and it scared the shit out of me because like I was like went up because think about this. Some houses at the time when they were built, you'd have down here you'd have stores, right?
Uh-huh.
Then you had a walkway, you go up, and that's your first floor. And then if you'd still, more staircases, more floors, more places. So
Sure.
ours was like third floor, and then depending on like your class that you're in, up there, you have two laundry areas. There's a laundry up in the top where you have your, your water tank where you pump water up, to water your house. You have a washing area, um, and then your heater for, for hot water. And I was just standing out there. It was like a little patio up like really high. And then I was like, just sat there, just pissed off. It was night. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I started like listening, and then I swear, I don't know, it was just probably like something that, caused my mind to like think about that. But I started hearing somebody like saying that, um, uh, she said it in Spanish, obviously. She says it, ay, mis hijos. So she was wailing. She was saying, ay, mis hijos. It's like, which is basically the calling of, oh, my boys, my kids. And it just echoed. And I swear I heard it 4 times in a row. Like it was like singy songy. And it got closer and it got closer and it got
Oh,
closer. And I
oh
was like
my
looking
God.
everywhere. And I was looking everywhere. I was like, what the hell? Somebody playing a prank on me? And then I looked around. There's like nobody. It's like, yeah, you could see the city, but then you could hear like the echoing getting closer and closer. And I said, ran past my cousins and Super Nintendo. And they were like, what the hell? And then I ran downstairs, down the staircase, and I ran to my mom. And after that, I just stuck with her the rest of the night. So that's that. And then the Curse of the Urinal movie, like I said, I never blame the director. I never blame the creators because it's hard to make a freaking movie,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
But the way that movie was executed and written and starred any Hispanics really bugged me
Yeah.
because La Llorona is a big deal for not only Mexicans but all Hispanics.
Hmm.
Is that I wish it was like more faithful to that. So like, why didn't they just do an origin story about it? Or why didn't they do a story set in Mexico or not in California, Los Angeles? There's no Llorona crap up there. Do it in New Mexico, do it in Arizona, somewhere where it's like isolated.
Yeah.
That's how you do La Llorona. You don't do it like in a city with kids. There's like, was there any Hispanic actors of Mexican descent that actually played them? Maybe the kids. What's his name? Who played Duco on Breaking Bad? He was that priest that helped them. Probably
Oh
him.
yeah, right. Okay.
He was the only
Okay.
other like Mexican person. And then, like you said, it's just like it was just I had a whole bunch of problems with that movie, and I
Yeah.
was like, I said if I ever, get to the point where I get to pitch like Blumhouse a remake or anybody that does that, it's like I would do like what they do with Annabelle. You know how the first Annabelle was like,
Uh-huh.
and then they did Annabelle Origins
Yeah.
or is it Beginnings or whatever, and it was way better, right? Because they showed you how it started.
Yeah, it was
That's what I
solid.
would do. That's what I would do for Llorona. I would go back to the beginning and show you why it started and make it Ray. Oh,
Mm.
hey, popping up on there. There's my producer. I can get to that later.
Okay.
Hey, Ralph, he helped me out. It's Raymond Cruz. He's the Mexican priest that was in La Llorona.
Oh, got you, got you. Okay. There we go. There we
Um,
go.
but yeah, it was like stuff like that. That's one of the big deals with like, cultural appropriation just to make a cash grab. I feel
Sure.
like that was my own thing. It's like I give props to the director. Like he's doing all like the new Conjuring movies, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
did a couple other movies. So big prop to
Yep.
Michael Chavez. That guy's like I said, it's not his fault that the script ends in it, and it's just the system he works in. But like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't fault the filmmakers or the people that made it. I just don't like how it was executed.
Sure.
Like just the
Sure.
story wise.
All
Story
right.
wise.
No, I hear you. I mean, what a creepy story too. You have things like that, or even like locally here. My kids have some friends over the years that there's a certain house that they have buddies from school, and they're like, "Oh, can I go over and play? Can I go and hang out?" And I don't know if the people that know it's newer owners, and seems to be a house that have newer owners all the time. But somebody had committed suicide in that house, and so my kids want to go there, and I'm just like, and more than likely, there's nothing, but it's just something that's always in the back of my mind where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to explain this if some crazy shit happens over there.
I know, right? And then it just like you said, it sticks in the back
uh,
of your mind.
yeah, yeah. It's like, it's just kind of irrational almost, where it's like, this is kind of silly, but it's like, yeah, I saw somebody that I could see through, it's just like, oh, fuck, I can't deal with that. Especially with kids.
Yeah,
I can't deal with that.
exactly, man.
Now, you have interests as a young man with filmmaking and kind of develop past college and such. How does it come to play as far as you finally working on something as far as a production and you getting into directing?
Um, Yeah, good question. In college, another person I gotta thank for my development. Like I said, I'm very grateful for where they are, and I always give praise to the people because I wouldn't be here without them.
Mm.
You know, like my siblings, my friends, my parents, and then there's a big person that was in my life, Todd Meckling. Shout out to the University of South Dakota.
Mm.
He was my professor, and he saw that I had talent, and but he rode me like like a fucking like Zorro. He was like fucking, hey motherfucker, he like beat me down because he knew I was the cocky. I was like, I went in thinking that I knew other stuff, you know, from doing the school news and shit.
Uh-huh.
But he was like, I gotta make sure this kid is not too cocky and that he has to be humble.
Uh-huh.
So I really thank Todd for humbling me
Mm.
and showing me the ropes from like how it's done at the floor to how
Mm-hmm.
it's executed to the top, right? Because this guy worked on a bunch of stuff in South Dakota. He would tell me his war stories. Like he would tell me that him and his wife were trying to be filmmakers, like like in the '90s and '80s. You know how Dino De Laurentiis had those that place in North Carolina. He had that studios in North Carolina.
Oh.
He said he
Oh
remember
wow.
pulling up. He pulled up to there, him and his wife, and they said they went bankrupt, so they had to drive all the way back to South Dakota because he thought he was going to work at the studio there, right? Because it was non-union. And
Damn.
then he told me stories about working with. There's this commercial that I found that he told me about it, and I can't believe I found it. This was like uh, in the mid 2010s. I found the commercial. This was for that, the cigarettes, the Marlboro. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
it was called it's tentatively called Mustang Sally or whatever. It was basically it was a baton torch passing of the man to the woman, and they
Uh-huh.
filmed it all in western South Dakota. And he was a location scout and uh, a runner on that shoot. And Tony Scott directed the spot. And
Oh
he
really?
I
Okay.
remember driving
Cool.
him around. Tony Scott, who rest in peace, he's one of my influences. I hold him above, like he's one of my heroes.
Yeah. Wow.
And he would drive him around. He said he remember pulling up in his car and meeting, hey, Mr. Scott. And he said Tony Scott was awesome gentleman, like British gentleman, great guy, like shoot the shit type guy. Remember
Yeah.
he was driving him and he was talking on the phone. He's just like, he summarized it as like, he's talking to his wife and he goes like, how the kids? Good. How the other kids? So he's talking about the dogs.
Okay.
And he just remembered like he had to stop. He's like, hey mate, can we stop right there? And then he drove up and the guy came in with like a big box of cigars. Like he would smoke stogies like a chimney.
Okay.
So he was just telling me all these war stories and he remember like on set he'd be on there and then they'd get on this like buggy with like the camera and then they drive around, get the whole thing. I should send you the spot after this so you can
Yeah.
see it, how
Sure.
it was
Hell
filmed.
yeah.
And he goes like, that was great. Let's do it again. And he'd do that like a bunch of times with multiple cameras shooting this like woman, corralling all these like, horses, Mustangs. And then the guy
Okay.
just standing over there and like going his approval. Like I'm passing this off to her.
Hmm.
So it was a really good spot. It's a really cool area. It's a really cool spot that I was able to find for Todd. I found it and I sent it to him and he was like, oh my gosh, girl. I was like, can't believe you found this. Like that's a spot. It's like, I don't even know how the hell I found it. I still have it. I was like, I saved it in one of my files.
No shit.
But yeah, like he would tell me, he influenced me a lot by, he would like hammer home the basics, the story structure, the editing. So he was very critical of all that stuff. Like I would make short films, I would show it to him and he'd give me his 2 cents off of them.
Hmm.
And I would take
Okay.
all his stuff to heart. He was never like malicious with his like critique. He was always like based off of like wanting me to be better.
Hmm.
But he's one of the people that really helped me grow in that area. So like when I
Hmm.
went into my professional world, I was ready to go. It's like after I graduated, I got a job at the local TV station doing cheap commercials. Then I went into like work at a health clinic, doing the internal videos, and then I got into television shows and advertising. So that's basically my whole career. My professional career is advertising and
Okay. Right.
video work. But then on the side, I would make short films and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So
Yeah.
like as the ones that you saw that we'll talk later on. So that's how I keep myself creative. Like I work in the ad agency world, the creative world, video world still, which I'm lucky. And like not that many people, go to college and get to do what they love every day. But I also keep myself sane and my creative juices flowing by making short films and writing stuff with my creative partner, Vince Romney. We both met at that TV station and we've had,
Oh, okay.
we're best buds, talk every single day. for the last 20 some years, man. So like I said,
Yeah,
it's just like a wild ride, learning from the basics, like being on set, like you were talking about as a PA, learning from these directors. Some directors that were added actors, I would like, okay, I like what he does. You learn the ins and outs. You learn, okay, I want to be this part like him, but this part I don't want to be like him. This part, this director, I don't want to be at all how he treats crews. I want to be like this guy. But the only way you're gonna find that out is being on set and learning what type of style you are.
sure.
Like jumping in hands on and learning. It's like nothing's better. I still have this philosophy right now is that you're never done learning in your life. I mean, I could, if not gonna let I get to be 70s, I'll still be learning stuff till that day.
Yep. Yeah. And having, I mean, almost in the sense like that on the job training of, you kind of picking pieces from people as you're going of, that I like this. I like this style. I like,
Yep.
kind of this approach and, maybe not even not a knock necessarily to the person, very talented, but like you said, how maybe their interactions with people or how, like, I can appreciate that. That's awesome. It's a
Yep.
beautiful thing. Now, as far as that, working at the station and having, you know I think so many times, I think a beautiful thing that you'd mentioned, people kind of mention that day job and that kind of way of like the day to day, bills and, life and taking care of kids and such. But you still working in film. I mean, that's a pretty awesome thing, even though it's different and you still being able to have the creativity, with like shorts and such, but being able to do those things. I'm sure there's different times too, where you go and you pull off something or maybe a street shot and you're like, hey, I might have to use this again later.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's like just like what I learned in the advertising world, I apply it like, schedules, budgets, all of that stuff I can apply directly to that. So that's
Hmm.
why I was able to like, in my advertising world, you have to show a return on investment, right? Whatever you make here, it's a business. So
Yeah.
I apply that to my filmmaking world. It's like I have like when I talk to my producers like Ralph and stuff, they get me that I have 50% mind creative, but the other 50% it's business. I get that business acumen that I get why you're trying to tell me because I'm not like all artsy fartsy where I'm going to be like, no, this has to stay that. There's some parts that, yeah, I will if I believe, because I know both sides is that, okay, I believe this has to stay in. Then I get why, okay, we got to cut that because, the budget's going to go up and blah, 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 blah. Right? We
Yeah.
can get that in
Yeah.
a cheaper way.
Yeah.
Nothing's better than, having limitations and living in that world because then you have to get creative to, solve those problems, problem solving. And like you said, it working in the advertising world, this helped me a lot in my creative world, especially in short
Hmm.
films. Like crewing up, going the list of crews that you'd use for a TV spot or whatever. You could use the exact same crew, obviously, what like pay scale depending on your budget for the short and creative stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, and not to mention also, being surrounded by talent, something at some point, hey, I'm shooting something else. I was looking for an actress or I was looking for a
Yep.
DP, I'm sure that kind of provides a little opportunity as well there.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Ellie Drews, we're also going to be business partner here coming up. We're opening up our own like video production, digital marketing agency. She does all my, films. She's DP'd all my most of my last, handful of short films. And
Hmm.
she's great. Like I said, she came off, we've known each other, shoot, almost going on 8 years now. I met her through another great talented, local DP called Ben Enke, who's done a bunch of commercial work, really great stuff. And a bunch of, and he's done a handful of feature films, but he was her AC. And we kept in contact since
Oh,
then. It's like, I saw that she has similar styles to him and I wanted to give her a big break and I gave her a big break. And like I said, the rest is history. Like I
man.
said, like, just learning the people that you want to be with, building your own community, and your own crew that you want to use over and over again. Like going back to like Sam Raimi and, his crew, and all of them, Bruce Campbell, who's the other producing partner that they have? I'm going to shoot myself for not remembering his name. But it was
I
those
know who
three
you're
that
talking
did,
about.
they
Yeah.
produce every single movie, right?
Hmm. Yep.
He's Ghost House Pictures. Well, watch me be like, for some reason he watches this and he sees, and I get a pitch meeting with him. It's like, you're the guy that didn't remember my name, right? It's like, ooh, sorry, man. It's like, but I know who you are. I know who you
Yeah.
are.
It was
Uh,
the Three Amigos. We knew that
yeah.
for sure.
And yeah, just like learning on the job and just knowing your tribe, your little crew that, you can consistently get the stuff that you want. create,
Hmm.
and they get you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and as far as being placed in Minneapolis, and I've had a few people on here that I've had to graciously have conversations with. Has the area provided? Have you noticed kind of a boom with film and kind of that industry building over the years?
It's slowly growing here. It's still not caught up to like Atlanta, New Mexico, Louisiana.
Sure. Okay.
And there was a big community here. We were, they like, in the 90s, we had so many films shot here, Jingle the
Hmm.
Way, Untamed Heart, Under the Graffiti Bridge, Grumpy Old Man. We had Mighty Ducks movies. All those movies are
Oh
shot
man,
here.
Grumpy Old Men was shot there.
Yep.
God, what a classic,
I think they did
dude.
an airport in the 70s. Like, it was a big, like, it was like not big. It was like a medium sized, it was what Louisiana is now is what Minneapolis was in the 90s. Uh,
Okay, no kidding.
but then it went away because, cheaper places to go to Canada. Hey, we want to go somewhere cold, but what's cheaper? Go to Toronto, go to Vancouver. We
Mm-hmm.
got similar places, similar, lifestyles and stuff like that, similar language, everything.
Mm-hmm.
It just got cheaper, and then Minnesota fell way behind, and now we caught up. We passed every year there's a $25 million tax incentive, but it's a minimum spend of 1 million. So that caps off,
Oh,
how
okay.
some places like, Atlanta, Missouri or Louisiana have like 200,000, 500,000 qualified, like it has to be budget. So that
Yeah.
limits us to not be able to, you know, people think of tax incentives as like a gimme or grant or like a handout. It's not. Okay, if I go to my investors and be like, hey, I have a $500,000 movie. I need $500,000, but if we can get this tax incentive 25% back, and then we qualify for it, that's 25% of that $500,000 back. That's the business acumen of it. And
Mm,
then some people that don't get it be like, oh, you're asking money back for your movie. No, it's not. It's a tax rebate because we're bringing jobs to there.
right.
And then
Right.
especially when you're starting a film business or trying to play catch up, you're trying to, you have to have volume. It's a cruise night here. We don't even have we have stages, but for commercial work,
Oh,
like
okay.
Target, General Mills. So we have like a bunch of Fortune 500 companies here, right? Yeah, yeah. General Mills, Target's here, Best Buy's here, 3M is here. They shoot stuff here.
Mm,
Like you throw a rock, somebody's directed or did videos for 3M, right? You throw a rock here, some people has done stuff for like Target or Best Buy, right?
mm,
Either
okay.
photography or video work. But it's built for commercial work, but it's not built. We don't have like a big studio to film sets,
Okay.
like other places. So how do you build a crew here? By bringing volume work. And then slowly, as you build these stages and consistent crews, instead of doing like a bunch of 500, like, seven $500,000 movies or 10 500,000, you start getting those 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 10 million. Because odds of us getting like a series from Netflix or, because it's pretty low. We're not going to get a Marvel movie, even with a $25 million tax incentive, even at capped at one, it's not capped, but like minimum spend is 1 million. You're not going to get that. And
Mm,
we're already behind because, like I said, other states have 200,000 qualifiers, 500,000 qualifiers. Kentucky, all those people, Chicago.
right.
So
Right.
they got to solve that problem for us communities to bring people here to qualify for that and qualify for the tax incentives. And up north, they actually have in the Island Range. There's a bunch of people up there. There's Keely. She's up there. She brings productions up there all the time, like Lifetime movies, Hallmark movies. There's it's like a mini hub for Hallmark and Hallmark movies and Lifetime movies up north. If you can believe that. Here in Minnesota, they film a couple of them a year here,
Really?
like 400,000, 500,000. Yeah, and a lot of Tubi movies are starting to film here too because they can qualify at the range because it's way easy. They're smart about it. They want volume.
Hmm.
Like you can qualify up to like you can get if you get all the roll-ins, like the county and the city. You shoot in the city. You can get up to like 35-40% of your local tax incentives.
Wow.
So,
Damn.
and like I said, we
Yeah.
have talented filmmakers. We have talented actresses coming from here. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I think you had a guest earlier. That's how I found you through Mike P. Nelson. He lives here. He does
That's who
his
I was going to
movies.
mention. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Nick Junkersfeld. He's a great DP. I've actually worked with him on commercials. I was a producer on some of the commercials that he DP'd.
Okay.
Um, And yeah, he lives here. There's another director here called Andrew Hunt. He did recently. His last movie was with Guy Pearce, of all people.
Oh,
They
damn.
shot it in Portugal. He lives and works here. His name is Andrew Hunt. He's
Okay.
another guy to look out for. But yeah, there's, like I said, it's like they don't want to leave here. They just, yeah, if we have to, we want to make movies here, right?
Yeah.
But we have to leave to make our work and come back. Would we bring those movies here all the time? Hell yeah. Like I want to
Right.
call my first two movies, we're going to probably film up north because we can't film here in Minneapolis.
Okay.
I'm going to work with like, people like Keely to bring interiors. You build the sets cheaply and work with our crews and you fly them in and then get exteriors at other parts of the country or, Mexico for one
Hmm.
of my movies coming up. But yeah, like I said, it's a vibrant, great community here. It's growing, but we need more help to grow and become more professional, like, and be competitive with other states.
Sure. Yeah. And in Michigan, some years back, we had done something that was like a film incentive, and all of a sudden, Grand Rapids and
Yep.
Detroit, and I mean, it was booming. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden that cut, and it was just
You guys
nothing.
had, didn't they film some of the Avengers movies there?
I think there was like sections that they did that was in Detroit.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of money for that economy though. Think about all the crews that were hired and how many
Huge.
months.
Yeah.
It's huge
Huge.
for them.
So, but and you mentioned it too, and with the landscape with Minnesota and Minneapolis and all that, it's like it'd be beautiful to have more of an opportunity to be able to showcase that. And you mentioned Jingle All the Way and seeing schools or something
Yep.
like that. It's like, man, it's
Exactly.
so cool. I love that. I was going to mention Mike too because there, and it's slipping. I'm trying to think of who the fuck would have been. There's at least two others that I've been able to have on and talk with that were from the Minneapolis or at least Minnesota area.
Mhm.
But Mike was most recent, and and just so fun. What an interesting cat. A lot of
Yeah,
fun.
he's cool. I haven't met him, if you believe it. I know we know the funny thing is, like I said, I've worked with his DP who's like one of his good friends, Nick,
Hmm.
but I haven't met him yet.
Oh,
There's
okay,
another director here. I'm an idiot, and he'll probably give me some shit for it. His name is Matt Osterman. Our
okay,
kids go to the same school. Like
okay,
his daughters are older. He's done a bunch. He did a movie called Ghost from the Machine, was his feature film debut. It's not
okay,
Ghost in the Machine. It's called Ghost from the Machine. It's a really good movie. They
okay.
actually bought the remake. Netflix or somebody bought the remake rights, and they made it the movie. The remake, he got just like money and credit for, called Our House, or yeah, Our House. That was the
Oh
remake version
yeah.
of his original movie. So he wrote that whole story about the machine that brings people back, like
Oh no,
haunting.
no shit. Okay.
He
Wow.
yeah, that's his remake rights. So he had nothing to do with it. They just got the remake rights from it, right? He did another
Okay.
movie called 400 Days with Dane Cook and Brandon Routh. That's when sci-fi was trying to become legit, right? They
Uh
didn't
huh.
want to do asylum movies and
Uh
crappy.
huh.
He did that 400. It was about what is it? A, it was basically a test mission of, it was Dane Cook, Brandon Routh. So they were like astronauts doing this fake, test phase that they're going to go to Mars. But then something goes wrong, and they get out and they see the town's abandoned. That this was from. So they don't know if an apocalypse, and they were the only survivors. This is when Dane Cook was trying to be like a legit actor and stuff like
Huh.
that. So he directed that for
Man.
sci-fi,
Okay.
and then he
Okay.
did another one called uh why am I flip? What's it? Oh, it was called Hover. It's basically about killer drones. This was like in the mid 2010s for sci-fi. He was brought on
Okay.
board. He had nothing to do with it. Like really, he was just the old director dropped out, and his agent was like in the know. Hey, do you want to come in and just direct this? And he says he
Yeah.
wanted to change stuff. They didn't want to change stuff. So he's like, it's just one of those where you come in and just direct it. I have another friend from California who did the same thing.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
um,
Man.
uh, his name is El Gustavus Cooper. He's like, yeah, man, I just same thing. Director dropped out. I'm gonna come in. I can't remember what the movie's called, but I saw it on an airplane. And
Okay.
it's basically it has Thomas, the guy who was in E.T., who's having like a resurgence with
Oh
Flanagan
yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
It's on Paramount Plus. It's basically about this repairman guy who gets stuck underneath the floorboards as a murder happens on top of him, and he's like stuck down there as the guys are trying to smoke him out. It's a really good movie. I
What
liked it, but he said he was just
what's it called?
hire director. Oh, let me
Oh,
Google it
okay.
up
Yeah.
before I.
Okay.
But yeah, Matt, he's from here. He did that, and he just had another movie called at. Long story short, he filmed another movie here using the old rebate. It was actually a tax rebate, not a tax incentive. It has it's called Bitcon. Uh,
Okay.
the movie, and it had Jeremy Davies. It has Frank Wally's in it.
Okay.
Who else is in it? Tom Cavanaugh from like The Flash is in it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's a really good movie. I liked it. It's basically, I think it's like a crime thriller. It's like a it's similar to Fast Times. It's about this guy who
Okay.
finds this like crypto thing, and these guys are after him to get it, to crack it. If not, they're gonna kill him. And that because the Bitcoin keeps going up, and it goes starts out with like at 500,000, and it gets up to like 3 million. And like
Okay.
Jeremy Davis is like the sleazy friend that tries to get it, and he's playing Jeremy Davis like, oh,
Course.
he's really
Yeah.
cool, right? Really
Yeah.
quirky. He's really good in it.
Yeah.
I liked him because he's really fun.
Yeah.
And long story short, they released that during like the Bitcoin crap. And what happened was like they tried to promote it online, right, with like Facebook and stuff, and then they get not going through because they thought it was like a Bitcoin scam because all the scammers are
Oh,
coming.
oh
So the
man.
movie basically tanked because there was like the promotion didn't go through because it was called
Oh, dude.
BitCon. Even the original title he wanted to call was called was it The Fence and the Fox? That's what it was called. And he got the rights back from the distributor. He's like, "Hey, let's do a director's cut called The Fence and the Fox." And now it's available for like it's on. It's not on Tubi yet, but I think it's on Pluto. It's called The Fence and the Fox now,
Okay.
and it's a way better movie. It's kind of like it's kind of like and it's shorter but way better. So it's like BitCon is like the Blade Runner, and then
Okay.
The Fence and the Fox is like the Blade Runner director's cut. Cut out the VO and all that crap, and it's just like more of a thriller and shorter.
Okay.
So like he's
Straight
another
to the
the
point.
guy that yeah, I mean I'm buddies with him. He's a cool dude. He's another
Yeah.
director that's from here. But
Beautiful. Beautiful.
uh who was that other one that acted let me look up my buddy Gustavo Cooper. That movie that the guy under the floorboards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And I'm
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Crawl Space 2022.
Oh. Oh yeah. Okay. Have I seen? I feel like I might have actually seen that.
Yeah, he was brought on board. He was with him and his wife and his little girl live out in California. I checked up on all my friends out there.
Yeah.
Another guy that who's a mentor of mine. His name is Nick Simon. He's from South Dakota. He's another guy that I look up to that who's guided me through my career. His name is Nick. Nick Simon.
Okay.
He's done. His mentor was Wes Craven. Like they pair you up with, it was like when he got into WGA, they pair you with like a mentor, right?
Okay.
In the DGA because he's a writer director. And once he had enough credits, he got paired up. They flew him out to like Texas. I think that's where. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's where Wes Craven
Hmm.
lives. He didn't know it was Wes Craven until he showed up to his house.
Whoa.
He's like, holy shit, this is my mentor, is Wes Craven. And then he told me the story about how like you're not supposed to pitch stuff to them, but then Wes was like, hey, you got something I could read? And then he's like, we're not supposed to do that. And then Wes was like, fuck it, you give me something. And then he ended up producing his next movie, right? It's called The Girl in the Photographs. But yeah,
No shit. Okay.
yeah, him and
Damn.
his two boys and his wife out there. He's another guy that, like I said, I want to give mad props up to. He's been my mentor. I talk to him all the time.
Damn.
Another guy from South Dakota who's a friend of mine is Andrew Keitlinger. Um,
Okay.
he did a bunch of uh like indie movies that he did. He did one with it was called Tater Tot Tan with Jessica Roth.
Okay.
So he basically
Yeah.
filmed Happy Death Day and then went to his movie. This is before she blew up. It's basically a coming of age movie. She's a troubled teen who goes with her troubled uncle out in the middle of the plains of South Dakota, and they bond and they become better people. And then he just did a new movie called what's it called? Lost on a Mountain in Maine, and it's on Paramount Plus. It was produced by Balboa Productions, Sylvester Stallone. So the whole spiel. You should get him on this podcast. He's a pretty cool
Yeah.
dude,
No shit.
really
Okay.
genre guy.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
like around the same age, and like I said, he's a great dude, and he told me the whole story about like making his movies and stuff like that. And he always gives me shit. He's like, "When the fuck are you gonna make your movie, man? When the hell are you gonna make it?" It's like, "I'll get there, man." So I share the stuff with him. He's like, "Dude, that's a great idea. When are you gonna do it? When are you gonna do it?"
Man.
But yeah, like I said, he's a buddy of mine. But like those are the two people I want to give a shout out to too.
Yeah. I mean, and a beautiful creative outlet, and lots of community. That's always a good thing to have that positive experience, and not somebody that ends up punning you or shooing you off. And you're like, fuck, man, I really want to
Yeah,
be cool with this person.
I know, right? Like I just feel
No.
lucky I've been surrounded with like great, like I'm friends and mentored by great
Awesome.
people.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. I mean, and you know, kind of touching on you getting into features and such. the past 10 years, I mean, you've had quite a creative output, in different shorts. And I broke down a couple of them here that were favorites of mine. And maybe the first thing that comes to mind with filming them or the idea of how it came about. But let's start with Killer Date. What do you got? What do you got for this one? It was a lot of fun.
Uh, that's actually based on an experience of mine, where it's not,
Oh,
obviously I'm still here. I'm not dead, but this was like
I
when
was
this
like,
was like
oh
a
boy,
couple of
I'm
years ago.
interviewing a ghost.
I know, right? I went on a date once, where it was like I was at that time I had a big breakup with a long-term girlfriend, and then I went on a date, and I thought it was like everything went great. I was like just smooth. We hit it off, and then I was like, hey, let's go get dinner. And she's like, hey, why don't we go to my place? And I was like, this has never happened before. It's like okay, but then after that, I called my cousin and like one of the twins, his name is Chris, and I go, dude, can you call me like an hour, make sure I'm alive or something? Because this kind of feels too good to be true, right? So that's the whole genesis of that. It's like, what happens if she was a serial killer? It's like, because I've never, it's like, how easy was that? It's like, yeah, I'm a confident guy, but I'm not like cocky and like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm a Lothario. I'm gonna sleep with all these women because like that's when like Tinder and all that was new. That's before like
Uh-huh.
the whole fuck boy thing and all that stuff. Guys that just like go up just to hook up with shit, or women that hook up with guys just to get free meals and stuff like that. That's the
Yeah.
before that whole culture started. I was like into that. I just got into it because I was a lonely guy. I wanted to start dating again. This was after like a year and a half without dating anybody, and it's just being an old like 30, just turned 30, you're like, hey man, this helps because you can start going on coffee dates and stuff like that and like getting to know people and hey, you need me some friends. But yeah, that's the genesis of that idea, Killer Date. Was that it's like, hey,
Jesus.
and then I was like, hey, what? Let's just make this guy like a dude that is a d bag like influencer.
Uh,
So when those influencers are starting to start out, like, and
uh,
have him get his comeuppings. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea.
that's sick. God, that's so
And then
funny.
and that one we're actually turning into a feature film. And like I said, Ralph
Oh,
Esparza
really?
and Dane Larson are my producers, and we have it tentatively cast. We have a lot of them signed. I can't say any more about that
Sure.
because
Yeah, yeah,
obviously
yeah.
not going to
Yep.
wood legalities
Yep.
and stuff. But we have it cast, and then I can give you the general sense of so it's like a proof. Now we use it as a proof of concept, the
Mm-hmm.
short film, and it's now set in Mexico with a mostly Hispanic cast. So it's
Okay.
basically an influencer and his manager fly out to Mexico after coming back from like Europe. They're like Lotharios. They're like, because when I write scripts and stuff like that, I really uh study like what I'm going to write about because I don't want to just like write it on my ass, right? So I studied like these influencers that do this stuff and make money out this. Like Andrew Tate, he's like the creme of like douchebags that do that stuff, right? Alpha male, whatever.
Okay.
But this time, I mean, I've seen some influencers like Lotharios, right? Like hook up with women, and I made him really like that type of dude, and his manager doing a sleazy brand. So they go down there, get on the app, they get a hit. He starts talking to him, and he's like a handsome dude. I wrote him to be like a handsome, like good looking dude. He's like an 8 and 9. He's not a supermodel dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not an Abercrombie and Fitch model. People get that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
he is good looking enough and suave enough. So he goes there. Uh, it's getting late. Bars like still hopping, but he's like, "What? Where's this? Where's this girl?" And he gets tapped on the shoulder, and it's this girl who's like a 10. She's like a model. It's like, what the hell? Like he gets like perplexed because he's never had this situation before. And his manager's like, "Oh shit, something's up." So he starts flirting with her, and he gets text by his manager. He's like, "Hey, come talk to me for a second." Excuses himself, goes to touch his manager, and the manager's like, who's also filming. They film this like awkward shit because they always blur out the girl's face. And then the manager's like, "This is kind of weird. Something's gonna happen to you, man. Like you're gonna wake up with that liver and all this crap." And they, he's like, "Hey, man, this could get us 1 million subs. She's hot. Maybe I can send it, get her waiver form afterwards." But he's being an idiot, right? He's just thinking with his other head,
Jesus.
and he's gonna like, I can get her. And he goes like, "All right, dude, like, just come back to the hotel no later than this, man, or come back tonight, whatever happened." Manager leaves. He goes to talk to her. They close down the bar, and he's like, "Hey, man." He talks to her, and he's like, "Hey, it's like it's great knowing you. Let's get some dinner. I'm here for a couple weeks." She goes, "Hey, why don't we go back to my place?" Does the whole thing. Same thing. Gets steamy. Before it gets steamy, she gives him a drink. He passes out. Wakes up. He's getting tortured, and then you find out that she is the daughter of a cartel boss. And then
Oh
he gets
God.
tortured the next day. manager starts snooping around the town trying to figure out what the hell happened to him. The girl gets called by her dad, and as she gets called to go talk to her dad, right? So she leaves and he's stuck in the place in the dungeon, whatever. And the dad, played by a really good character actor, I can't say his name. Um, he tells her, "Hey, you little shit. I know I've used you for like my cartel hits because there's like they're called like Catrinas or whatever. They basically what they do is they seduce man and they're like hitmen. Either they kill them or hey, I'll be right back. They leave and then the hitmen come and kill the rivals. And there's like they're like hit women, sicarios.
Sure.
Um,
Sure. Okay.
he uses her because he knows she was messed up and she was fucked up, right? So he used his daughter for that, but he knows he freelances from time to time. So he's like, hey, I moved you around different places after you did this crap. Now you're really messed up. You got an influencer and you got his manager snooping around. You're going to ruin my business and you're going to have the DEA and everybody snooping around. I need you to get rid of him and his manager. And I'm going to send my two best guys to get with you to get rid of all that evidence and you got to burn everything, burn your whole house and your everything down. And I'm going to send you to South America. I'm tired of this shit. You got to leave. So it's a race against time with the manager had him to get to the house, free him as the assassins and the girl come to get him. So it's like a race against time.
Oh,
Think of like
dude.
a good times and like uncut gems. Like it's going to be like a wet knuckler. Like
Man.
it starts out with a cool story. So that's the general gist of the feature film version of the movie.
Sure.
Like again, I got my great producers, Ralph Esparza, like, hey, I know he's watching. Hey, what's up, man? And Dane Larson. And then, like I said, I wrote this with my best bud, Vince Promeny. Me and him write all of our scripts together. Like I said, we met at the TV station so long ago. Like, we're best buds, talk every day. But yeah, we have a great cast already attached. Now just grabbing up funding, starting all the business aspects of it, all that
Sure.
boring shit before we start rolling. We're hopefully within a year or two start rolling in that one because it takes time.
Yep.
It's not going to be it's going to be more like the budget is more akin like I can't really talk about that either, but like I say, it's doable and it should make its money back easily.
Dude,
but yeah, like that's a feature film version of that. The Killer Day.
Sick. And I think that's a cool thing too with being as involved as you are with shorts and having each of these being, that kind of proof of concept, versus it just being this thing and then kind of moving on from that, having those smaller little tidbits and to be able to show first and foremost that you're capable, but then also, it's like, well, I don't really have any ideas right now, and to be really sick to see Invoke in a full like feature of where this story would go.
Yeah.
And kind of and mentioning on Invoke, what can you tell us about that short?
That one, I think I had a kick. Like most of these ones, I just like, hey, I'm kind of like, I learned this from a professor of mine, a Spanish professor who was really into film when I was in college. We talked about film all the time during or off the time, off the books when we were like at the bar or something, just talking, drinking beer. He's talking about like how Stanley Kubrick was one of those directors. Like, hey, that's a genre film. I want to go make that. He watches something. He's like, hey, I want to go make that. Because he's done everything. He's done a horror movie. He's done an action movie. He's done a war movie. He's done a historical epic sci-fi movie. Like you think when you look at Stanley Kubrick, he's a genre director.
Sure.
He just does a claim genre, right?
Yeah.
He did an erotic thriller with Eyes Wide Shut before he died, right? And he was going to do artificial intelligence, a hard sci-fi, right? And then Steven Spielberg took it up the mantle. But Stanley
Kubrick was supposed to do AI?
Yeah. There's a whole thing you should read up on. It's really cool about that. That's why it's so weird and dark. Because Steven Spielberg tried to keep those elements in there of how dark and weird it was. So that's when it's like Steven Spielberg made this because it's so dark, right? It's such like he added a little bit more of it was supposed to be darker than what it was. You should read up on it. It's a really good read of how that movie was supposed to turn out with Stanley Kubrick.
Okay. Wow. Sorry to cut you off. I didn't know.
Oh no worries. Yeah, Invoke was like, hey, I think I was in the whole kick of like The Conjuring or like Insidious. Like, hey, I want to make this neon, and I think I was watching like Demons, like the whole giallo, like harsh, like and like neon lighting. But yeah, I'll just make this short movie, and we made this one. That was probably like one of the few ones that doesn't have that much plot in it, but just more like a boo scary. See if I could do that type of stuff. Yeah, fun. I liked it. Great cast and crew.
Mm-hmm. Okay, beautiful. What about Bad Company? This one's sick.
That one was I always been, I always loved like researching cults and stuff like that, right? Because I have actually a couple other feature film scripts featuring cults, like more realistic, not like fantastical demons stuff like this one. But
Okay.
uh, that one came through because it's part of an anthology, uh, a feature film anthology from this people from like Great Britain, and they released it. I mean, I was like, I don't want to do my home horror. I think ours was not more one of the most technically ones because that's when at the time when people were doing getting all these anthologies and trying to do a rap answer and try and wrap them all together.
Yeah.
Invoke is part of an anthology. I have a director's cut version of Invoke that's way better than the one that's online. I could send you a
Oh,
link to
okay.
that one after
Oh,
this.
yeah,
It's way
sick.
better.
Okay.
It's better score, better edited, and everything like that. And then
Okay.
Bad Company was the same thing as part of a horror anthology. I think it's called We Are Many. And that one, I just came up. I always, had the thought about cults, and me and Vince came up with that idea. He was also into that stuff too. Like, hey, why don't we just make something really cool that we can, hang our hats to? Because that was one of the first like really big productions we did. I think it was like a $7,000 budget, $8,000 budget. And
Hmm.
like I said, I fund all my movies. I fund all of my, out of my own pocket or other stuff. I gather money.
Oh,
I fund, like I said, the last 10 years, 15 years, not 10, 15, 15 years. Last 10 years, 11 years, I've made like 9 short films.
yeah.
And
Busy.
like I said, all self-funded. I don't ask a dime for anything, no Kickstarters and everything. And
Wow.
Bad Company was one of that. And that was one of my first things here in the great Minneapolis film community. That's where I met Ellie, and that's where I met Ben.
Oh,
That's where I
okay.
met a bunch of other people, especially Ryan Shadley, who's also worked with Mike P. Nelson. He's my
Hmm.
dude. He's my man. Great. Him and Becky are some of the great, like, people here, but not only great people, but super talented.
Hmm.
I think Becky was on that one. What was that one show on Sci-Fi about Face Off? I think she was on that. She participated on that
Oh,
show
really? No shit.
for
Okay.
like makeup
Yep.
effects. Yeah, they work together now. But yeah, those two. At that time, it was only Ryan. And Ryan is, he's tall. As like I can say this. It's like he's a tall motherfucker. He's huge. He's tall. He's big. And he's just a gentle giant. He's a really funny, sarcastic dude.
Uh-huh.
He's I think closer to the age of my brother. He's like Gen X, but he's really cool dude.
Hmm.
Really like big teddy bear. Really funny. Really sarcastic. Um, and that's where I met him, and we've been friends since. Shit, like I said, going on 8 years now. All these people, and I create that movie for getting me into the world of the
Okay.
Minneapolis film community,
Yeah.
and it shows how great they are, how technical expertise they can pull this shit off. So I asked my landlord, "Hey, can I film a movie here and shoot blood everywhere, and we'll clean it up?" Because at the time it was like a duplex. If you watch the movie at the end, it's a duplex. She lived on the
Yeah.
top. I lived at the
Okay.
bottom. Luckily, she was out of town, and my wife was out of town that night with my son because my son was well, no, that was before my son was born, but she was out of town with her friends, and my landlord was out of town with her friends, so I was able to shoot all that shit. And the neighbors next
Perfect.
door were like, oh, they didn't care that we had lights blaring into the basement and stuff like that. They were just like intrigued that we were
Hmm.
shooting something there.
Yeah.
So like
Sure.
the whole, like they said, that like I said, that the whole aspect of that movie came to genesis of me trying to make something cool, edgy, and you, like I said, doing the special effects. Like I think we talked earlier about how I wanted when they turned into demons to look
Uh-huh.
more like something out of the Lost Boys, which is my favorite movie of all time.
Dude. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's like
Absolutely.
really queer, really cool and creepy stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah,
that's
because
what I
I
really
mentioned like
loved about that.
Sleepwalkers even,
Yep,
like when I was like
exactly.
seeing like Ryan's effects on that, I was like, oh my God, like it's like I mean, obviously Lost Boys isn't 90s, but it really kind of like put me in the mindset of like some of like the visual aesthetic of like some 90s stuff in the best way. I mean, complimentary. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's such a great time. And and then through another guy that I want to shout out to is Anthony Cousins. Anthony
Oh,
Cousins.
yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know if you know who he did Frogman.
Yep.
He's here.
Yep.
He's a friend of mine. Great dude.
Oh,
He's
wait,
another
he's
guy you should have on the
Minneapolis, isn't
podcast.
he?
Yes,
Or
he's man. Well,
Minnesota,
he's
right?
from here. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
he's now him and his girlfriend live in California, Colorado. Oh, somewhere. They just go where the production is. They're cool dudes.
Yeah, yeah.
Andrew,
Okay.
like I said, I send him memes, and we talk about we talk through memes. You know how guys are. That's how I am
Yeah.
with Anthony. But he's a cool dude. He's another guy that I want to give a shout out to.
Awesome.
He's from here, really talented
Yeah.
dude. Another I grew up nostalgic of the '90s. He also has an older brother like myself. Like so, we had a lot of
Okay.
stuff in common. I think that's why we get along really well.
Yeah.
Um,
Beautiful.
but
Beautiful.
and through him and Nathan Timishuk, he's also the actor that the main actor from Frogman. He's another guy that I want to give a shout to. He's a great guy.
Sick.
Big teddy bear.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. Once again, a nice little community of people, and it always helps out when people are good people and positive influence to that too. Uh, now, next up, I got made fun of earlier for the pronunciation, so I'm sure I'm gonna butcher this, but Kakai. How do I pronounce this? First of all,
I just say it's like it's spelled how it is. It's Cucuy. Cucuy.
Kukui. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Specifically, it's like the Latino or Hispanic boogeyman. They
Right.
have
Okay.
everybody has their own lores
Yep.
of it.
Yep.
Especially it's the boogeyman, but for the Latinos.
Hmm.
And the genesis of that for me is like at the time when I wrote it, I had a lot of loss and grief. Uh, my dad had a stroke, so he's like bedridden, can't talk much. So I had my my own grieving stuff about that with my father. He's still like he's all there and stuff, but he just can't communicate like I used to.
Mm.
And then I had two dogs from college. Um, long story short for that one, I got him into a relationship. I was with a girl in college for 3 years. We broke up. It was a nasty breakup. And I was told her, hey, if we ever break up, I'm taking the dogs. I remember the night that we broke up, this was like, she broke up with me on my graduation day from college.
Oh
I packed up
God.
all my shit and I took the dogs. This was like, that was my revenge. And I had those dogs for, like, people were like at that time, it's like, oh, you're not going to keep those dogs. Cause I knew if she was from a farm, she's from a farm family. It's like, she takes those dogs will probably die on the farm, right? Because they're just going to run
Mm.
around and get stomped or die. It's like, no, I'm taking this. They're like rat terriers. They look more like terriers. They look like min pins, but they were
Okay.
rat
Yeah.
terrier
Yeah.
chihuahuas, right?
Okay.
So they're like this big. They weren't everybody thinks of chihuahuas. No, they looked like they were the size of a terrier, had little aspects of a chihuahua.
Yeah.
Little
Okay.
nippy little bastards. They were cute. They were like really loyal dogs. And I had them for 14 and 16 years they lived to be.
Mm.
Bella died first of cancer, brain cancer, and then Coco finally died. And
Mm.
those dogs helped me out through, like, they were like my like, quote unquote kids before I had kids. I had responsibilities state to state
Yeah.
with these little
Okay.
motherfuckers everywhere,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
my career. And I always had them. They were working through the thing. And then, so I found my wife. Uh, Coco finally died, and it was like, it was like letting part of me go of my past with
Mm.
Coco. So when
Sure.
I wrote Cookie, it was about me putting all of my grief and stuff into that. About how if you don't let go of things and you don't deal with them, they're going to consume you. And so
Mm.
when I wrote Cucuy, I use that as an allegory of the Cucuy is that stuff that lives in your head that if you don't forgive yourself or you don't um, deal with grief, it's going to consume you. And that's
Hmm.
when people watch it now, they get that context of, oh, it's always there and it's always going to be there if you don't deal with it. If you don't talk about it and you don't agree with it, deal with it right away because grief and guilt will always consume you no matter how much you try to put it away, put it away, put it away. It's always going to come consume you. And that's
Hmm.
the allegory for Cucuy. And I use, Ryan Shadley did the mask and stuff like that. Tim Timishuk actually played the Cucuy. I
Oh,
had
really?
some like stuff that I shot where you could actually see the Cucuy, but I was like, you know what? I want to mean like Jaws. Keep them in the
Yeah.
distance, keep them blurred out. So I played
Yeah.
with your
Okay.
head.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's something where like over the years, finally, I think horror's getting a little bit more of a recognition. But with a story like this, I mean, the depth and just an everyday thing. Like sometimes we just get uh, uh, terrified of some of the more obvious things of everyday life. But that was one that I certainly wanted to kind of touch on for sure. I mean, one of your most recent works, but the depth of it, and just something that is relatable. As far as nothing, thank God, to me recent. But it's something that everybody deals with, and at one point or another is gonna be in your life, and yeah, the depth for sure with that story was there and effective and translated well.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Like I said, for me, it's coming from one horror fan to another. Just
Hmm.
being to like, because you guys get it, you get it. where we, start where we started off to where we're beginning, and then how we evolve as filmmakers. We've seen it with a bunch of filmmakers, like, that we grew up with, like Danny Boyle, Christopher Nolan,
Mm.
John Carpenter, all those influences. You see them, you grow and evolve as a filmmaker, and you see what type of filmmaker you want to be, especially me. I just turned 40, and now I know what type of filmmaker I want to be with these type of movies. I want to make genre films, just genre films. Some movies, yeah, I want to tell a cool story. And then some other movies, like, maybe one day I want to do one as an allegory. Like,
Hmm.
A24, like Talk to Me, or like Cucuy, maybe turn Cucuy into a feature
Yeah,
film. Because, like I
yeah,
said, I have a
sure.
bunch of ideas to turn that into that. And do it the right way. It'd be my La Llorona with an all Hispanic
There you go.
cast and stuff like that.
There you go. You mentioned another feature as well. Is there anything? I'm
Yeah,
never one who's prying. I'm never one who's like, you heard it first here.
yeah.
I don't care about all that shit. But if you do have any sort of like small detail or something that you can tell us about that.
I'm developing another movie. I can't talk too much about that one because it's still in the super early phases.
Okay.
Um, uh, with another producer, we still haven't. Like I said, I can't really like say too much stuff until we actually sign the paperwork.
Okay. Well, if
But yeah, I'm just developing
if anything,
another feature film with another thing. It's a really cool movie. Um, like I said, it's like yeah, with Ralph and Dana. I'm developing Killer Day, and they're also developing another movie called crap, The Exorcist House. It's off this best-selling book about the. I can't talk too much about it because, like I said, they're developing it with other
sure,
people. Like you said, you develop
sure.
other stuff with other people. Like
Hmm.
mine, I met this other producer named James Orfanos out of New York, and he's produced stuff that's like he's another cool dude that I
Hmm.
met, and we're developing a movie together. I can't say too much about it right now, but like it's a thriller. I
Okay.
can tell you off camera, it's like what it's
Yeah.
about.
Sure.
It's another
Sure.
thriller. So another white knuckler.
Okay.
That one has a little bit of allegory to it too as well.
Sick.
Um,
Sick.
and like I said, he's another cool dude. Me and him hit it off. Like I said, like with Ralph, he's another guy that I hit it off. It's like you just find your tribe.
Yeah.
Like the one thing I like to tell people is
Yeah.
like when you're developing movies, doing commercial work, doing short films, you develop your tribe, you find them.
Hmm.
Because you're always going to find there's like 90% of assholes and shits that just, hey, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? But then you find that 10% of the people that are going to help you, like Ralph did, like Dane did, like James did. You find your people that they gravitate to and you want to make stuff with.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like me and Ralph, we already have plans to develop multiple movies together. And
Sure.
same thing with
Sure.
and with Dane and then with James, like we have multiple movies like that. You got to make your own tribe and your own thing because in the end, what are we trying to do? We're trying to make great movies.
Yeah.
We're trying to create entertainment
Hmm.
to 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 do what we love,
Yeah.
which is tell stories.
Yeah.
And like I said, what's a better way to do it than do with people that actually get you, trust you 100%? Like I said, it's like I wouldn't be where I'm at with like all the hard work that, like I said, I keep like I'm the type of person that always praises more people than praises myself because I'm not that type of guy. Uh, I always praise like people like Ralph. Like Ralph has been a champion. I mean, when that guy from when we met back like in what is it March to now to all the progress we have, his amazing cast that he did. I mean, some of these people that these people when you watch like that we have assigned to like they're called letters of intent. So basically, they read the script and like, oh fuck, I love this movie, I want to do it.
Hmm.
And then when you hear those type of people come to you and say like, I read the script, and like the next day they signed, they
Mm.
talk to the manager and the agent. It's like that's when you know you have something special. And like I
Sick.
said,
It's
to
awesome.
get to that point, you needed somebody to help you,
There's
and
work.
Ralph
Yep.
was that for me. He's been my champion because I
Mm.
couldn't be here without that progress. Now it's the time. He's working his butt off to get the rest of the financing so hey, Cameras One is going to make it. So
Yep.
like I said,
Yeah.
I was like I feel very very fortunate that I was able to meet like someone like Ralph and Dane to champion that movie Killer Day. And then now same thing with James. Same thing. I met him back in like April. Funny thing is, I met both of them on LinkedIn through like this mutual person, right?
Okay.
And we started communicating, and then we hit it off, and then we're developing our own stuff on that end. Because like I said, there's another thing that I learned from Guillermo del Toro of all people. He has multiple movies with multiple production companies, multiple producers.
Hmm.
It's the same producers he's worked with, but they all have their own deals at different places.
Hmm.
And the same thing with Ralph. He optioned a movie, and now that I can't say too much about it, but that Exorcist House, he has it with a known director who's done stuff for like, streamers with his production partner, and they have that Exorcist House optioned, and they have like, like when they have the pitch deck, they have a bunch of cool people that they could cast, and most likely that movie's going to get made. And they already have like sequel rights. They have the main rights, and they have the prequel rights to that movie. That movie could be like the
Damn.
next the Pope's Exorcist, that
Okay.
type of movie, where you
Okay.
could get
Okay.
like a Russell Crowe attached to that, and you can make multiple movies like that.
Man.
Like I said, that's just like a big. It just shows you how like lucky I am and fortunate I am to meet people like, well, all my producers, my producers, Ralph, Dane. Like I said, I can't stop talking about them because of the good. I'm so thankful that they found me and we were able to work together. Like I
Yeah.
said, in the people that helped me, Todd, Nick, everybody, like, I mean, my siblings, Noel, Lexley, and then also my mom and my dad, my cousins, Christian and Renee, uh, Andrew, like I said, all the people that I mentioned before, Johnny, like all my best buds, they all helped me to be where I'm at. And
Yeah.
and then some people that don't like really like movies. There's a buddy of mine named Miguel. He's a soccer coach down in Nashville. That motherfucker, like, he wasn't into films, but like me and him, like, talk all the time. Like, it's one of those buddies that you disconnect with what you do in your real world and you just pick up where you left off when you meet
Hmm.
him. And he is, we talk about South Park shit all the time. Like, we always, like, that's like one thing that we always just like little tidbits and stuff to each other. Now, another person a good friend of mine who's a great actor, that you're going to see him blow up, and I'm going to have him in a couple of my movies. He's actually connected right now. Where the hell did I forget? He's going
Okay.
to play the manager in Killer Date. His name is Rod Kasai.
Okay.
Great, talented dude.
Okay.
He's from Chicago. He's my man. That guy is talented motherfucker. Um,
Midwest. All right.
yeah, he's a really good dude. Me and him talk all the time, get lunch all the time. He's another guy that, like I said, I'm loyal. Like, I've used him he was actually in, The Devil's Due. He was the dad in Devil's Due. And
Oh shit. Okay. Oh.
he was also the boyfriend in, what is that other one that I did? Dearly Departed. He was the husband that had, his face was falling off. That's him.
Oh,
That's Ron.
okay.
That's
Okay.
Ron.
Damn. All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Dude, I mean, and for anybody interested, obviously, or maybe not obviously, I shouldn't have said that, but all of your shorts or the majority of your shorts, they're all on YouTube. When I kind of post this and posting ads for it and everything and advertising, I'll put up, the link on there for that, a couple of cool features that are coming in works. You've been a very busy man over the past, awesome shorts and a lot of fun and interesting stories. And what an opportunity to have one of them becoming a feature. I mean, that's all that hard work. That's what it's for, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. And
Man,
like I said, it's all the hard
beautiful.
work, all the people that you work with. Another
Hmm.
person I want to shout out to is Desiree. She's my muse and she's the wife in Bad Company. And she did the action
Oh,
one,
okay.
the
Okay.
the action one with the two sisters. She was
Yeah.
in that one as well.
Yeah.
She's also the
Okay.
wife on the phone and in that other one, with Rod, that she crashes the phone. She's like, hey, she
Oh,
did the voiceover as a favor
okay.
because she couldn't be
Okay.
here for that. And funny thing, another savior from Bad Company, that's not her real belly. She just got done being pregnant, so she knew how to be pregnant. And Ryan made that fake belly. So that's a fake belly.
Really?
In Bad Company, yeah. So that's what she had all her mannerisms from, like when she was pregnant for the first child. And that's why that was a fake belly. I could send you like some
Oh,
behind the
damn.
scenes
No
pictures
kidding.
of, so she was really good. Like, that's why you believe that she was pregnant because she just had her first kid and she knew all about, like, how to carry yourself and everything
She
like that. Because, like
had,
sometimes when you see actresses or some people that don't do something, like not just being pregnant, but like,
uh-huh.
or in a fat suit, they don't know the physics or how it is to walk like that,
Yeah.
right? They just
Yeah.
do normally.
Yeah.
But like when you actually gone through it, then I get this. I remember I was doing this and I was doing that. How I
Hmm.
felt. I can't do. You're
Natural
limited to certain things.
nuances.
Exactly.
Ah,
And
okay. Okay. No shit. Wow.
yeah,
Dude, incredible stuff, man. Carlos, I cannot thank you enough for the time here today. This been absolutely awesome. I love all the behind the scenes, some of the fun lore that you've gone through to inspire some of these things. Anybody that's tuning in late, I'm going to have this on YouTube. I've been premiering new episodes every Tuesday over on the YouTube page. I'll have this on here. I'll advertise. And I'm cheering you on, man. I can't wait. You know, this is awesome to see everything that's going on, and I can't wait to see Killer Date, brother.
Well, thanks, man. Like I said, I'll send you a screener. Like I always tell people that I'm close to. It's like, hey, if we do DVD extras, DVD extras, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a commentary track to people that, hey, I was like, because I know some like friends that done DVD like commentary tracks, even if it's just like you put them up on YouTube or if we put them on a physical disc. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
we'll do one together on one of my films, and we
Sick.
just grab a beer and just watch the freaking thing and just have watch the whole thing, or even just do a live watch through with it, right? Have it
Yeah,
played through
there
and
you
we're
go.
just drinking and watching it. But yeah, like I said,
Sounds
I
great,
want
buddy.
I want to give a shout out to like everybody that supported me, my friends, my family, my collaborators, everybody. If there's somebody that I didn't mention, trust me, I'll mention you on the next one. I'm eternally grateful for everybody. Obviously, my wife who supported me through this whole thing,
Hmm.
and then my three kids. But yeah, like I said, if I missed anybody that I want to thank, especially and thank you, man, for having me on your thing. Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
eternally grateful, and like I said, I'm always going to be humble in that sense, where like without this community, without people believing in you, you're not going to get where you're at. And like I said, you put out in the world what you get back.
Hmm.
So if you're an asshole, you're going to get asshole
Karma.
back.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Exactly.
dude. It's
And
that's
I'm
a
a big
real
believer in that.
fucking thing. Holy moly, real thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You've been incredible, man. You've been incredible. It's exciting to see everything, and like I say, I can't thank you enough, buddy. It's been a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks, my man. And then we'll talk soon. All
Yeah, absolutely. You take care.
right.
Have
Take
a
it
good
easy.
day.
Later.
It's been
Dun, 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 dun. He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.